what is a we're going to touch on today a few topics. What is a pop-up license? The type of pop-up license. We'll go over the pop-up retail user, pop-up retail host, the pop-up food establishment user and host. We'll also go over the license application requirements, duties, and relegated regulations. All right, so broadly speaking, the pop-up license is for the short-term use of a space to sell merchandise, food, or services. Pop-up licenses differ from other license types in that they are for a limited duration of time and allow some degree of flexibility as to the exact location. However, various licensing requirements still apply. There are two different types of pop-up licenses for different types of business activities based on whether the business is selling general merchandise or selling food. So for pop-up licenses, if you're selling retail sales of goods, you'll get a pop-up retail user. And that's just basically the sale of merchandise, any seasonal merchandise. In particularly, we're aiming at stores, warehouse sales, estate sales, pumpkin patches, Christmas tree lots. Those can vary from 5 days to a 1-year license. And there will always have to be an organizer. So the pop-up retail host is the host license. The host is basically the organizer or sponsor of the event of a limited duration for the sale of merchandise, i.e. Art fairs, and the license runs for the duration of the show. Pop-up food establishment users, there are short-term temporary food operations. They go from 5 days to a year license based on license type. Pop-up food establishment hosts, they're issued to the owner or lessee who rents the space to a pop-up food establishment. You can get up to a 1-year license. So we're going to go more in depth with the pop-up retail users. A pop-up retail user means a merchant who occupies for 1 year or less a fixed space for the sale of merchandise or provision of services, including seasonal stores, warehouse sales, trunk shows, pumpkin patches, and Christmas tree lots. Licenses can be issued for 5-day intervals, 30-day, 90-day, 180, or a year. The pricing is below. 5 days is $25, 30 days is $50, 90 days is $75, 180 days is $100, and a year license is $150. All right, let me go back. Those prices are also good for the host. So the host would pay that too. But for the host, it's per person in most cases. So pop-up retail hosts, they're the organizer or sponsor of the event. Pop-up retail hosts, they can get a license for the limited duration for the sale of merchandise, including art fairs, exhibitions, and trade shows. Host licenses for these events are issued for the duration of the show or event. A host license covers all of the vendors participating in the show's event. Individual vendors may not obtain individual retail user licenses to participate in the show, but rather will be covered by their host single license. As part of the host application, the host must submit a complete list of participating vendors in the show. As a sample of the format we're looking for below, this is also on the website. If any vendors do not have an Illinois sales tax numbers, the host must submit a special event tax coupon from the Illinois Department of Revenue to the Illinois Department of Revenue. See the city's pop-up licensing for shows and exhibitions page. For more information, you can go to www.chicago.gov and then /business licensing. And then you will go to the commercial or business licensing, commercial and business services, and then go to the pop-up retail host. All right, so what is the license fee? The fee is calculated based on the number of vendors on the list of participating vendors that do not have a current and active pop-up user license, multiplied by the per user fee. The per user fee is the same as for the pop-up retail users. As a, an event of 5 days or less would be $25 times the number of vendors on the chart. So I'll go back to the chart. If the person does not have the license, because we changed our licensing procedure, each vendor for a 5-day license will cost $25 a piece. If it's a 30-day event, $50 a piece. A 90-day event, $75 a piece. A 180-day event, $100 a piece. And then a year, if the event lasts the whole entire year, it's $150 a piece for each vendor. How can food vendors participate in the show? Food vendors selling only non-perishable prepackaged food may be included on the list of participating vendors, which should be counted as such. So we call it a tier 1 in-house. Other food vendors must obtain a pop-up food establishment user tier 2 or tier 3 license. Tier 2 licenses are for menu items requiring temperature control for safety and or a final on-site preparation step such as tossing a prepackaged salad or plating prepackaged food. Tier 3 licenses are for operation on site as a full service restaurant. So if you're heating up food, this is for the basic example. To host tier 2 and tier 3 licenses, the show host must obtain a pop-up food establishment host license. All right, so pop-up food establishment users, we'll go over it again. They're short-term temporary food operations. They vary in increments from 5-day up to a year. A pop-up food establishment user, this means in a food establishment that operates on a short-term temporary basis and in a fixed premises. There are 3 types of pop-up food establishment users. You have the tier 1, which is non-perishable, prepackaged food, not requiring any on-site preparation. And then tier 2 is menu items requiring temperature control for safety and or final on-site preparation steps, such as tossing a prepackaged salad or plating prepackaged food as discussed before. And then tier 3 is the operation as a full service restaurant, meaning, you're preparing food for immediate consumption. All right. So we'll just the definitions are just repeated here for the tier 1. I'll start at the second bullet point. The tier 1 licenses can be issued for 5, 30 days, 90 days, 180 or year terms. It may be reissued on consecutive terms. Tier 1 licenses may pop in anywhere allowed by the zoning ordinance. No additional pop-up food establishment host licensing is required. So that just means you can have the regular pop-up host license and you can take a tier 1 food person. All right, so tier 1 licenses are not subject to any special equipment requirements, provided, however, that all licensees must comply with any applicable sanitation requirements. Again, there's the pricing. It's the same for all the tiers. The only difference is, well, no, it's not the same for all the tiers. I'm sorry. Tier 2 is held to a higher threshold, so the license is a little bit more. So if you observe on this slide, the 5-day license is $50, the 30-day license is $100, and the 90-day license is $150. Tier 2 pop-up user licenses are for menu items requiring temp control, as discussed before, for safety and or for final preparation steps such as tossing a prepackaged salad or plating prepackaged food. They go on to list the terms, which I went over. Tier 1 licenses may pop up anywhere where allowed by the zoning ordinance. But tier 2, the premises for tier 2 must be equipped with hand sink and temperature control equipment. As for Tier 3, in addition to selling or serving food authorized under a Tier 1 and Tier 2 license, the holder of the Tier 3 license is entitled to sell or serve perishable, non-perishable, hot and cold food prepared on site at the pop-up food establishment. The holder of the Tier 3 license is authorized to operate as a full-service restaurant. On-site dining is allowed under the Tier 3 license. And again, that pricing is the same as a Tier 2. All right, so what is a mobile food preparer? This is added here because the mobile foods people, they can participate in different events as well. So a mobile food dispenser means any person who, by traveling from place to place upon the public ways, prepares and serves food from a mobile food truck. In other words, it's someone who's selling prepared food from a motorized vehicle. The license for that is $1,000 for a 2-year period. Then we go on to basically discuss the mobile food dispenser and the mobile food preparer. These are just the two different types of food truck licenses. So one is what you see at the construction site most of the time. They have pre-prepared food. The truck is heating the food, and the food preparer is the person that's allowed to cook on the truck pretty much. To get either license, you must meet with a BACP business consultant to determine if you are a dispenser or preparer, and discuss the overall mobile food vehicle operations and requirements. You'd have to come eventually to the Small Business Center at 121 North LaSalle, room 800. You can start the application online, but you still have to come in person. Even once we mark it complete, you have to get, approval from the health department. So we always encourage people to do the food trucks in person. You have to have a completed business information sheet, which is on our website, including all required business information. You have to supply the name and address of the commissary where the vehicle will be cleaned and serviced. You cannot park a food truck at a residence. It has to be cleaned and stored at a licensed facility. And if the vehicle is not stored at a commissary, the name and address of the place where the vehicle will be stored when not in use. The health department does allow you to store it some places outside of the city of Chicago. In most cases, I usually see them ask for their most recent inspection report from the place that you have the truck parked. To get the mobile food dispenser, you got to have a valid retail food establishment or shared kitchen user business license. So you can, in some cases, the health department will allow you to store the truck if you have a restaurant. To get the food preparer, you got to have a valid City of Chicago Food Sanitation Manager certificate. The certificate can be from the owner or the applicant's employee or the owner's employee who operate the mobile food vehicle. For either truck, certificate of commercial general liability insurance with the limit of not less than $350,000 per occurrence is required for applicants that will use a propane tank or natural gas in the mobile food vehicle. For both, you'll need a health consultation requirement, as I've mentioned earlier. Applicants must complete a consultation with the Chicago Department of Health to review the proposed menu, blueprints, spec sheets for equipment, commissary inspection reports, and fire safety permit applications if required. For the fire safety plan, all mobile food vehicles with gasoline, diesel, electric generators, propane, or compressed natural gas types, exhaust type 2, exhaust hood or fire suppression system will require a fire safety permit. A fire safety permit consultation packet may be obtained during the health consultation. The permit is $100. All right, so these are the basic requirements for each vehicle. For the mobile food vehicle, for the food dispenser, it must be enclosed with tops and sides, hand wash sink with hot and cold water, depending on the menu, equipment to maintain temperatures, and business name and license number legibly painted on the lateral sides. For the preparer, which is held to the higher standard, the mobile food vehicle must be enclosed with tops and sides, a 3-compartment sink, a hand wash sink, hot and cold water, equipment to maintain temperature, waste water retention, and the business name and license number on lateral sides. For either truck, the mobile vehicle must maintain suitable, tight, non-absorbent, washable receptacle for refuse. The vehicle may not be used for any purpose other than the mobile food vehicle. The vehicle must be registered as a commercial vehicle. All operators must have a valid driver's license. The vehicle shall be inspected and maintained by a licensed propane professional at least every 90 days, with copies of the last 4 maintenance reports maintained on board at all times. If propane is used, there should be no more than 40 pounds of propane on the vehicle at any time. For on-site inspections, after completing the license application and making payment, the vehicle to be licensed must be made available for inspection by the health department and, if applicable, the fire department. The business consultant will schedule your mobile food vehicle license inspection. For license issuance, the mobile food vehicle must pass the required City of Chicago Department of Public Health inspection, and if applicable, the City of Chicago Fire Department inspection in order for the license, certificate, and decal to be issued. The mobile food vendors may not operate until the license, certificate, and decal are issued. And any city debt must be resolved prior to issuance or renewal of or changes to any business license. All right, so I'm going to go over the reoccurring and license renewal inspections. So like any restaurant or food establishment, after issuance of the license, mobile food vehicles will be subject to a routine sanitation inspection by the Chicago Department of Public Health. Such inspections will include fire safety compliance evaluations if a fire safety permit was required for the license issuance. At the time of the license renewal, all mobile food vehicles are required to be inspected. All right, so I want to go over any operational requirements. So be aware that no food that is sold or served from a mobile food vehicle may be stored or prepared in a residential home. All operators must work in conjunction with a commissary or shared kitchen to store and prepare food. Mobile food vehicles shall move from place to place in the public way. Stops to service customers cannot exceed a total of more than 4 hours or the maximum permitted period of parking, whichever is less. And that's, any one block. Hours of operation for food trucks are 5 a.m. to 2 a.m. every day. Mobile food vehicles may operate from designated food stands not to exceed 2 to 4 hour limit. Mobile food vehicles may operate on private property, not to exceed the service limit of 4 hours, as long as the property is properly zoned and the property owner has provided permission for such use. Mobile food vehicles are prohibited on privately owned vacant lots or on the lot of a vacant building. No mobile food vehicles can stand within 200 feet of the principal customer entrance to an actual restaurant located at street level, except for between 12 a.m. and 2 a.m. Mobile food vehicles must be in continual compliance with the City of Chicago Fire Department regulations governing the use of propane, natural gas, fire suppression hoods, and/or generators. All mobile food vehicles must be equipped with the global positioning system device. All right, and we're going to also take a look at the mobile food licensing process. This is the order of operations. You must apply for a mobile food license at BACP with a business consultant, meet with health for a consultation, schedule a free assessment inspection. That's optional. You also have to pay for a license application when the health consultation is completed. you'll have to schedule final inspections via the health supervisor, complete the fire safety course if applicable, and then receive a license and decal after required inspections are passed. All right, so for the health consultation, we're going to cover the notes. During the health consultation, health will provide a detailed list of documents, photos, letters, etc. that must be submitted for the review. Consultation paperwork must be submitted in person at the BACP office. Most applicants typically meet with health several times during the consultation period. Most applicants take several weeks to complete the licensing process, depending on how quickly the applicant submits required paperwork. All inspections, including fire, are coordinated by the health supervisor. Applicants must contact health when they are ready to renew their license so inspections can be scheduled. Note, produce merchants do not need to complete the health consultation or health inspection. And just general notes on commissary. Commissary refers to any licensed food establishment used to support mobile food vendor operations. Examples include a shared kitchen, restaurant, or wholesale facility. Vehicles that have water tanks must use a pre-approved servicing commissary to fill and empty tanks. You must have overhead coverage at the servicing station. Vehicles may use a commissary that is located outside of the city, but the applicant must provide proof that the commissary meets city requirements. Applicants may use more than one commissary to support a vehicle when approved by health. For instance, you may use your own licensed restaurant for food prep and use the shared kitchen for servicing the water tank. If a vehicle does not have water tanks, commissaries must provide an off-street parking area to clean or service the vehicle. In that case, the overhead storage coverage is not required. All right, and health and fire, they may conduct routine inspections while the vendor is operating in the field or at events. At events, it happens often. A special event license is required for any mobile food vendor that plans to participate in permitted special events in the city of Chicago. Single event or seasonal licenses are offered. You got to contact Business Affairs, Consumer Protection, or the Health Department for the application. The City of Chicago mobile food license covers operations within the City of Chicago. If a mobile food vendor wishes to vend outside of the city, they should contact the local jurisdiction in which they plan to vend for requirements. Mobile food requirements are covered by both the Municipal Code of Chicago and this in the City of Chicago rules and regulations for mobile food vendors and shared kitchens. This concludes my portion. So I'll hand it off to Ms. Susie Reynolds.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Susie Reynolds, supervisor with BACP Business Compliance Enforcement. So I'm available to answer any enforcement questions that you may have. Thank you.
Awesome. Lawrence, if you wouldn't mind just putting that last slide up that had the contact info, and then I'm gonna start going through questions. We've got a couple. This is just a reminder for everyone here to, if you've got questions, put them in the Q&A box. I'm gonna start from the top. If you have a shared kitchen license, do you still need a pop-up license?
Yes, you still need a pop-up license. However, it's a case-by-case basis because we have to determine whether the event needs it. And the license fee is waived. So you go through the application process, we don't charge you. If we do make you go through the process, because the code says we can't charge you for both licenses if you have them simultaneously.
All right, thank you. Next question. In what situations would someone still apply for a pop-up user license by themselves? This is now entirely covered by the application submitted by the host for an event.
It depends on where it's at. And it has to be outside of the realm of what we consider a trade show or exhibition. So no trade show, no exhibition. But when I say depends, it can't if it's in a place that has a PPA license, like and PPA is public place of amusement. If it's in a place such like McCormick Place, we won't make you get a license. I mean, if there was an event in the United Center, we would not make you get a license because they have the public place of amusement license, which will cover you.
Gotcha. Next question. What does someone need to do for participating as a vendor at a farmer's market or a summer fest? If that,
Those
if-
are typically outdoor events. So BACP only handles you if you're doing something in an actual building with a building certificate. So if it's outdoors, you would contact the Department of with the Cultural Affairs and Special Events.
Okay, next question. Please explain how a pop-up retail vendor having applied for site use is also responsible to pay a vendor fee for additional sellers.
All right, so you wouldn't have to pay for any sellers that already currently have the license before we changed our licensing process. So when you submit the list, whoever has the actual license with the city for the pop-up user, you would subtract them from the list because we've already vetted them and given them the license. You're paying for anybody that does not have the retail user license, the pop-up retail user license.
Thank you. Next question. We have a storefront cafe and already have an existing retail food license for our establishment. We were told we can get a pop-up badge to add without a fee. Is this the case?
Yes, you can apply for the pop-up host license. And because you already have the retail food, the health department, they will let us waive the fee.
All right.
But the application is required. Still will have to go through the process.
Next question is about sharing this presentation. Yes, I put it in the chat. The webinar is being recorded and will be available at youtube.com/Chicago BACP. It usually takes about 24 hours, so check here tomorrow or check check youtube.com/Chicago BACP tomorrow. It should be up there. Next question. What's the process of getting the pop-up license? From the presentation, it seems like it was geared toward the food trucks.
Well, yes, the premium is put on food. There is food, you will require a host and the participants to get a license, no matter what. They're only making exceptions for non-food items. So if you're selling books, that's different. You probably won't have to get a license in those cases. If you're selling food that is prepared or needs temperature storage, in all cases, the user will have to get the license. It's held to, a higher accord.
All right, next question. Hold on one sec. Okay, next question. If I want to host an event, but do not yet know the date and how many vendors, what kind of license would I get?
You wouldn't get the license. we need to know. We need to know all the vendors, and the list that the sample list. It requires you to submit their sales tax number. So we can't give you a license for the event till you have all your vendors. Municipal code says they must be registered for sales tax. So we would need a list, and we would need to know that they're registered for sales tax.
Okay, next question. What are the penalties? Where is that listed on the city's website?
The penalties, they're not listed on the website. For most, they would have to contact the administrative hearings. And to my knowledge, when you get cited, the judge, after the hearing occurs, they determine what you pay. There's no, like, it's not a prepaid thing. You know, you show up to court, you stand before the judge, and they usually issue you the fine.
Okay, yeah, seems like a
And
case
if
by
I could
case.
just add
Oh,
to
yeah, go
that,
ahead.
Lawrence, that's absolutely correct. So when we issue an administrative notice of violation, the fine is determined at the administrative hearings, and it's a mandatory hearing, so you must appear.
All right, thank you, Susie. And then next question is also called out for you. Next question for Susie Reynolds. How do we know if a hot dog vendor cart that has appeared in our neighborhood on weekends is licensed? He sets up late night by residential properties and is across from a legit hot dog restaurant, so multiple stakeholders are not happy about his presence.
So we receive complaints of people selling food from the push carts where they set up tables and sell and cook and sell food. We don't license that. So he would not have a license. And so I would encourage you to either go online or call 311 and put in a complaint. If you can provide us the location that they are operating at. And also if you have a date and time that they're normally out there, so we'll know what team to assign it to. We can have investigators go out and investigate. But we do not license for the hot dog stands that, you know, kind of go in the neighborhoods. There is no license for that.
Okay, thank you, Susie. Answer that. Next question. I lease a space to conduct business. Because business is slow, I occasionally gather vendors and create a market-like experience. Nobody gets charged. It's an effort to spark business. Should I be requesting a host pop-up license and have the vendors get one too?
Correct. You should be getting a host license. And if it's in an actual store, it's licensed for the retail sales of art, then that's not what we would consider an exhibition or a public place of amusement. So yes, you and the vendors will have to get the license for that.
All right. Next question. Is a pop-up license required for jet ski businesses since it is seasonal? If not, which license is required?
That one, BACP doesn't handle. You would have to handle the park district. If you're on the jet skis, you're in the park district property.
Okay. Next question. I see people on the street in vacant lots put up a canopy and grill food to sell. No truck, no events. Does a pop-up license allow for this?
No, you cannot prepare food in a tent with a pop-up license. The pop-up is licensed to an actual building. So if you're outside, you will fall under DCASE's realm, the Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events.
All right. Lawrence, I see it looks like you're typing an answer for this question, but I want to sell, the next question is, I want to sell my art on the streets. So if I would need a peddler's license, how would I go about that? Is it the same process?
For that one, you will apply in person. It's not the same process. For peddlers, you only need a sales tax number. Peddler is allowed to sell any tangible item except, food, and you can't sell water. You can, however, sell uncut fruit and vegetables, but it pretty much covers you for any type of tangible item. So you can't sell art with it. It's $100. We get that license out the same day. You be prepared to spend at least 30 minutes to an hour here in the center.
Okay. What next question that Lawrence looks like he's answering, but what is the website to get a peddler's license?
The Chicago Business Direct. You can apply online. It takes a lot longer. Coming here in person is the preferred method because that, like I said, that license will be given out in 30 minutes to an hour.
All right, next question. Will all the questions being answered here be transcribed on the YouTube channel? Yes, I think YouTube automatically does that, but then also Zoom. There is a transcript in Zoom. Just FYI as well. Next question. If you are a consultant for a direct selling company, do you still need a vendor's license?
That one is hard to answer because we don't have any license. It's called the vendor's license. So, and she's saying direct seller for what type of company? What's it at?
It's just direct selling company.
I would need more information for that. I need to know what you're selling, where you're selling. That one I can't. I need more info. I'll type to them.
Okay. Next question. Also, where would I be able to find places or outside open spaces on the street to rent to sell art?
All right. So if you're selling on the street, that's a peddler's license. That's what it sounds like. When you come and apply for a peddler's license, we provide you with a map of the places that you cannot be. And that's why we encourage peddlers to apply in person. Even when you apply online, you get an email saying to come in person because you have to get a badge. And then before we give you the badge, we have a talk with you about what you can and cannot do. We give you the municipal code, we give you a map.
All right. Next question. I'm a non-food vendor and I sell at pop-up events. Will I need a license and will the host need a license also?
So pop-up events, that one, the host will always have to get a license, no matter what the circumstances are. For the actual vendor, I would need to know more. Because, like I said, trade show, exhibition, PPA license. So I need to know. For the vendor, it depends on where you're at. That's the best answer I can give to that one.
Okay, next question. How do I get my business EIN and LLC?
Okay, that one, the EIN number is given out by the federal government. So we will direct you to the IRS's website. We have a flyer in person, but there's also FAQs on the Small Business Center's website. LLC is handled by the Illinois Secretary of State. There, you can walk in there. They're at 555 West Monroe on the 12th floor. And they're open till 5 o'clock. I think they're open from 8:30 to 5 o'clock.
All right, looks like we've got one question left. Here's the question. Is there a website for places to rent to be able to do pop-ups? I would like to do my own pop-ups here in Chicago.
No, the city doesn't provide that type of service. We can't show favoritism to any of these property owners. So there's no site. You bring us the address. We submit an application that goes to zoning, and then the zoning department tells us whether the address is good or not.
Next question, is there a different application for a participant versus a host?
No, they fill out the same information. It's a business information sheet. Yeah, we capture any majority owners, social security numbers, birth dates. It's the same info, whether you're the host or the participant.
All right. Next question. Hello, what kind of license do I need for a banquet hall?
The banquet hall is handled by the local liquor commission. So they give out those licenses. Now I don't process those. I think, and I'm about 90% sure that it falls under the PPA license. I'm 90% sure.
PPA stands for Public Place of Amusement.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Well, when I said we had one more question, then a lot came in. Next question. Will the parameters for non-food businesses be listed on the website?
No, because it is a case-by-case basis, and most of the time it is based on the address that you bring us. That's why we've taken it off online. So any vendors that are concerned whether they should get the license or not, we have a one-on-one, in-person consultation. We need the address. It's different for everybody. You know, it's a lot of things we need to determine.
All right. Here's the next question. Is a 5-day license for consecutive days, or can they be spread out?
It is for consecutive days. It cannot be spread out.
Next question. If I'm selling jewelry at a pop-up event at a church or community center, do I need a license?
Most likely, yes, you will need a license. And most likely for the community center part. Churches vary. It's a case-by-case basis. Some churches are residential. If a church is on residential, then they cannot host a pop-up.
All right. Questions keep coming. Next question. Is Tier 3 the proper application to apply for dealing with cooked food for a pop-up?
Correct. Tier 3 is the proper application.
All right. Simple question, simple answer. Next question. Where should retail sellers wanting to participate in pop-ups apply for sales license?
I think that means where should they apply for their sales tax registration? And if you're doing that, that's you would do that with the Illinois Department of Revenue. So those are the people at the 555 West Monroe on the 12th floor.
All right. Next question. Schools often host pop-ups, art fairs, etc., but they are usually zoned residentially. Are schools exempt from the residential requirement?
No, they're doing it illegally. I mean, if they're hosting it and we don't know, then I mean it's illegal. I mean, we have to catch them in the act. So no, they're not exempt from the requirement.
Okay. Next question. What license do I need to sell general merchandise at a pop-up?
Well, it's the pop-up retail user. And like I say, it depends on where the pop-up is. It might just fall on the organizer.
All right, next question. Do any of you guys know anything about art auctions and how to find them?
No, auctions, the license for auctions has been delegated to the state. So I would suggest probably contacting the Illinois Department of Professional Regulations.
Okay. Next question, if you get a license for a year, does it cover events only in a single location or any events we do all year in more than one location?
For a host, it only covers you in a particular location. User, if you want it, we'll give it to you. For the users, it covers them in any location. And for the host, you're only delegated to that fixed location.
Okay. Next question, how can we get the license with the credit?
I mean, it sounds like they're asking, can they use credit card? So, I mean, if you're applying for a license and you get approved, our cashiers do take a credit card.
Does the license only cover the city of Chicago?
Yes, the license only covers the city of Chicago. Each city is different. They have their own licensing.
All right, well, I think, so we'll give it like another, couple seconds, but I think that's it. Oh, someone, a follow-up. No, I mean the credit that you mentioned in the beginning.
Oh, she's talking. Credit, the host will get the credit. So if they have a vendor on the list that already has the license before we changed our procedure, they would not have to add them to the list. So the host would pay for all the vendors. But if we discover that a vendor has the license already and is active, we will subtract them from the list.
Okay. What's the number you said for the art auctions that I would need to contact?
I'll just give her the link to the Illinois. I'm gonna type it to it.
Okay. Next question, would tier 3 pop-ups cover locations for a user/host, such as a Swaparama or flea market event?
No, flea markets do not qualify for the tiers. So we've already had a discussion for the flea markets. One, I think at 4545 West Division and Swaparama. So anybody doing food there has to get a retail food license because they have the 3 compartment sinks. They have all the hookups. And this is above me. This was negotiated with the deputy. Swaparama, they can get temporary licenses, but they cannot get temporary ones for food. People will have to get 2-year food licenses.
Okay, here's a question. What is the wait time to obtain a vendor license?
If you need the vendor license, you can get that same day. It takes about, I want to say, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour.
All right, a clarification. Do all sellers pay or just the organizer/host?
In most instances, it will not be sellers. It will be the host 100% of the time. Like I say, for sellers, it's a case-by-case basis. You would have to fall out of the realm of exhibition, trade show, or a public place of amusement. If you are not one of those 3 things, then we will license the vendors too.
Next question. Do you have a list of pop-up locations for 2023?
If they want to know who has an active license, there's an active license database online that I can send. the link to. Give me 1 second. All right, so I just sent the link to them.
All right. Next question. I applied and paid for my pop-up license online, but I never received it in the mail. Can I pick up my license at your location?
So what happened if you did it online, and this is why we encourage you to apply in person, then it got sent to the vendor. So if you need a copy of that license, you would come down to City Hall at 121 North LaSalle with the address on the last slide of my slideshow in room 805. The hours are 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. on weekdays.
Next question. Can my license in Chicago carry me for other states if I wanted to go to another state to vend?
No,
I can answer that. Yeah, it's no, only for Chicago. Okay, well, I will just remind everybody that this webinar was being recorded or is being recorded and will be available at youtube.com/Chicago BACP. Check that website tomorrow. It should be up late afternoon. Again, youtube.com/Chicago BACP. Thanks for attending, everybody. Hope you have a great rest of the day. Thank you.